Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my FIFA 13 tutorials. Now today's tutorial is one that I covered about a year and a half ago for FIFA 12 on penalty saving. However, today's tutorial is going to go into much more depth and explain to you just how you can go about saving pretty much every single penalty in the game. So let's get straight on with the tips. Now, the first penalty I'm going to show you how to save is just the normal, fully powered up penalty with no shenanigans. So there's no finesse involved, there's no chips. The guy you're playing against just holds down the circle to shoot, powers it up as much as he wants, and then picks a side. And the problem with this sort of penalty is you can't react after the players hit the ball because there's so much power on the ball. If it's in the corner, you're not going to save it. So what you're going to have to do is get used to looking at the run-up and, more importantly, the position of the leg before impact to predict if it's a power penalty. And even better than that, you can predict what side of the goal the opponent is going to shoot just by looking at his leg just before he's about to strike the ball. Now, in this example here, as you can see as the clip rolls forward, I have just done a normal, fully powered up penalty aimed to the right hand side of the goal. And as Ronaldo runs up to hit the ball and the clip stops here, you can clearly see in the highlighted area the position of the leg as he wants to strike the ball. He's aiming to the right hand side of the goal, and to get that angle, he has had to pull his leg right behind him to the left hand side of the goal to get the angle to be able to punt it to the right. So this is very, very easy to see. You can clearly see here, before Ronaldo's even hit the ball, that he's going to hit the penalty to the right. And this is a very, very useful technique, and this is the easiest penalty to spot. If he's hitting it open side, so obviously with a left footer the image is mirrored, so he'll be hitting it to the left in that case, but with a right footer to the right hand side of the goal, or with a left footer to the left hand side, they pull their leg right behind them, very, very easily seeable, and you can react quickly enough if you can spot it and save penalties to the right. The next penalty that we're going to have a look at is exactly the same type, but this time to the left. And as you can see with this clip here, I've powered the penalty up just the same with Ronaldo, apart from this time I've aimed it to the left. And as the clip stops here, you can see in the highlighted area a clear difference between penalties hit to the right and left and goal. With the penalty to the right hand side, his leg was flared behind him, his planted foot was much closer to the ball, and this was enabling his body to propel the penalty to the right. In this example, as you can see here, his left foot, his planted foot, is a long, long way from the ball. This enables him to swing his leg through the ball and towards the left-hand side to get the penalty in that direction. So that's one immediate tell. If the left-hand foot plants a long way from the ball, the chances are the penalty is going to the left. But in addition to this, with a penalty to the right-hand side, you saw Ronaldo's leg flare right behind him towards the left so he could hit the penalty to the right. In this example, his leg comes pretty much straight back towards the screen. So there are two very, very effective ways to be able to tell power penalties apart based on the position of where they plant their left leg, if they're a right-footed player, and the direction they pull their striking leg back. If you can spot these two things very, very early, you can predict which direction the penalty is going in and gives you a much, much better chance of saving a penalty. If you're unsure, if you've had a look and you're not too sure, the best option is to stand still, because a lot of players hit the penalty straight down the middle, especially online. That first penalty in a shootout, you know, they're a little bit nervous. They don't want to trust their finger to get it right in the corner. They'll just hit the penalty in the middle. So if you're not sure, stand still. If you're 80% sure, just go with it, because with power penalties, if you try and react, 90% of the time it's going to be flown past you before you even get anywhere near it. So that's how you tell power penalties apart. Let's move on to the finesse ones. Finesse penalties are another very, very common penalty you see because a lot of players like the control you get with the finesse penalty. It's much less likely going to blaze it over the bar. And a lot of players are pretty terrible at penalty shootouts, so they will rely on a finesse penalty to make sure they at least hit the target and hope that you don't dive the right way. Now, the real downside to taking a finesse penalty is the lack of power, because all of that added control comes at a price. You're only side-footing the ball, and it doesn't matter how powerful your leg is, side-footing the ball is never going to be as powerful as putting your laces through it. So while you do get that extra control, it really does mean that your penalty has to be very, very precise, because if your opponent picks the right way, chances are he's going to save it. And the good news from a penalty saving point of view is finesse penalties do have a slight tell which enables you to predict when one's coming, and the problem with that, though, is that it isn't as pronounced as the ones with the power penalties, because with the power penalties, you know, the leg movements are very, very different and they're pronounced and you can clearly see what's happening. With the finesse penalty, you're not quite as sure. The one thing that you do have in your favour is the last 3 or 4 yards of the player's run-up, and as you can see in the background here, I'm running both of the run-ups together in slow motion to enable you to compare them. And one thing you definitely see with a power run-up is just a direct rush to the ball. There's no stutters, there's no stepping. He just strides to the ball as fast as possible and puts his foot through it. With a finesse penalty, if you look at those last 3 or 4 yards of his run-up and you compare them, there's a lot more shorter steps, stuttering up, and there's not that massive pronounced movement at impact. And those are the 2 ways you can really tell power and finesse penalties apart. However, whilst with a little bit of practice it's quite easy to tell when a finesse penalty is on its way, it's a lot more difficult to accurately predict what direction. But, like I mentioned earlier, the one problem with a finesse penalty is it really lacks the power to fly past you, so it enables you to increasingly wait and react to the penalty. And like I've been mentioning, a lot of poor penalty takers use finesse penalties as a way just to make sure they hit the target so they don't balloon it over the bar. So if you're a little bit patient when you know a guy's taking finesse penalties and you can consistently see it happening, stand in the middle of the goal and react to it, because the chances are it's not going to go anywhere near the corner, and if you've got pretty decent reactions you can go the right way and get hands on the ball and save it. Quite a lot of the time actually, a surprisingly high number of penalties are saved in this way, so that's how you can save finesse penalties. Let's move on to the final type. Now the third and final penalty we're going to have a look at today is the chip penalty, and a surprisingly high number of players chip for some reason. I don't know, perhaps it's just the the satisfaction of pulling a successful chip off in a penalty shootout, but a chip is a very, very easy penalty to detect. And as the clip slows down here, you can see that as Ronaldo runs to the ball, his run-up is the stutteriest thing of all time. And I ran it through in normal pace for you a few times to start with, just so you could get it in your head that it's very easy to tell a chip apart from the other penalties because their run-up stutters the earliest. So sometimes, like 2 or 3 strides into a run-up, he'll be stuttering or stopping, and it's very, very easy to see. So this is the last penalty we're going to look at. I really hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. We've covered a lot today, and I hope it's helped you out because if you guys play a lot of Ultimate Team or head-to-head or even career mode, you're going to get a lot of penalty shootouts, you're going to concede penalties in the game, and hopefully these tips enable you to save a high percentage, which in turn will enable you to win more tournaments, get more coins, and move up the ladder. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, have a great day.